Hey everyone, this is Luminous coming at you with DCDH number 4, Dota Commentaries, Dota Help, where we optimize our gaming to become a better Dota gamer. This is the slogan that I'm going to be sticking with and modifying upon. And today we're going to be talking about warding, which by far is the most highly, commented and uh, the biggest comment that telling me that you need to do a warding DCDH. So I'm going to be doing that. And I personally don't want this DCDH as a replacement guide for something that you could just find simply on playdota.com. But this is more going to be it's going to be more optimally placed. I'm going to talk about very small things, predominantly talking about not the hero, not the warding placement, because you guys all know by watching a lot of commentaries or watching a lot of pro replays, you generally know where the wards should go. But there's a lot of tiny detail to could tell you that where's your hero should be when you're placing those wards, because that is just as important, if not even more important. Also, I'm going to be talking about the timing of the wards generally, and we're going to talk about game counter ward coverage and whatnot. So without further ado, let's not waste more time and let's get right into it. And today I'm going to be asking the help of Euronoob, our webmaster from DotaCommentaries.com. He will be doing all the warding, and as you know, Euronoob is the other person that helped me on that choke point jungling guide. But yeah, he will be placing all the wards, and I'll try my best to point out the detail of not exactly where he's placing the wards, but how he's placing the ward, which is very important. And we're going to do it by section. So the first section we're going to be focusing on is the Sentinel jungle, which as a Sentinel team, you spend a lot of times warding in this area as well. And so after that, we're going to do, Sentinel top jungle. We're going to do Scourge, bot jungle and top jungle as well. So hopefully we're going to get the early game wards down fairly quickly. And then the mid-game warding is where a lot of people have trouble with. But, as I come, I'll try to give a better analysis of it as well. So earlier you heard me saying that, well, I watch a lot of replays and I see a lot of, pro support players are just warding here and here and here and here and here. Like, you could just ping on the minimap, say that, okay, well, I know exactly where to ward. But generally when you're in game, especially when you're an experienced warder, yes, you could throw those wards down, and yes, it'll see the rune spots and blah blah blah, it'll do everything. But again, the way that you're putting the ward has a really big significance of whether you're placing them correctly or not. So we're just waiting for Euronoob right now to actually go place the wards. I'm ready whenever you are. So first, he's going to be placing the 3 most common warding spots in terms of seeing the rune. So the very big importance of putting early wards is that I'll see the runes and whatnot. And Euronoob, if you could share control with me, it will be great. So the first ward he's going to be putting here is, look at his the way that he's going to push here, but I'll give more importance as well. So this first ward here is very important in terms of seeing the rune spot here still, and it also is a very defensive ward against a trialing. Generally, Scourge throw trialing on the bottom lane, so if you put a ward here, you see that how much vision it sees in terms of prevention of backstab. Second ward he's just about to place here is a very common spot in terms of, you've seen this ward time and time after game. I don't really need to talk about why this ward is good. It definitely sees a lot of vision on the enemy side as well. And the last warding spot, we see in a lot of pro games as well. And see, notice where Euronoob is actually standing here to place. And a lot of amateurish warders, I see them actually walking down here to place a ward, or actually going the other way around and placing a ward as well. And this is a very bad thing to do, because when the lower ground you are, you don't know if the enemy team is backstabbing. Right now I'm watching on we have 8 wards down, so we see a great deal in the area, but generally when you're placing the ward, the entire area is fogged. If you actually walk down the ramps like this, you're in actually a very dangerous spot. So if you're warding early game, generally try to stay as on high ground as possible. and try not to walk down ramps, because again, ramps provides you a lot of fog, which is really really important. Now, as these wards specifically goes, this ward is generally not that good early game. Yes, it'll see the river vision, it'll see a little bit of vision up here, but that's all it'll see. A lot of the jungle is fogged, and generally if the enemy team is backstabbing the mid solo, they could really go around it if they wish. So probably not the best ward here. This one, yes, it will provide you a lot of defensive vision for the bottom lane, but also it does not provide you vision for a path to the mid lane. So if the enemy wants to backstab the mid lane, they could do so as well. I have to say this ward might be the best here, but again, it really depends on where your team wants to ward and whatnot. Now, there's two variations of yes, tri-lane ward. Good. Okay, so there is two variation of this. There is one variation of this specific ward, and there is also one variation of this specific ward. I'll put this first one here. You can actually put this one as a observe ward. Notice that we're actually using sentry ward, but just treat these as observe wards. This observe ward will actually see as much as this one is, but it's just a little bit harder to counter counter ward. Of course, if they're throwing a counter ward on the middle of this area, it will be easily counter ward as well. But this ward will see just as much this vision as this one does, and also it gives you a little bit of vision up here as well. Now, the second spot for this ward, as you see your noob is already getting in place, it's a little bit right here on the left side. Again, this is not a sentry ward, but an observer ward. This ward will give you the vision to the rune. It'll definitely see the rune. Again, it'll just see just as much the vision as this particular observer ward. Maybe a little bit less. It's a lot safer to place. Notice how you're a noob, you can actually hide yourself in the jungle when you're placing it, whereas this ward, you have to actually go outside and place it. Again, it's very, very important, especially in the early game. How many times in a pro game you could watch the warder goes out to ward by themselves and they get ganked? And again, if you're actually placing the sentry ward, even if the enemy noticed you there, you give yourself about three seconds in terms of running ahead to actually place the wards, which is extremely important. Those 3 seconds will save your life. So try to be safe when you're placing this ward. Also, this is a very good spot when you're trying to counter ward. You can see that you can just throw down. This is an actual sentry ward that I'm about to throw down. Yeah, as this sentry ward you could actually throw down here. Keep in mind, imagine if you're counter warding here and there's 3 heroes here, they're gonna definitely run down and just kill you before you even can kill these wards. Because remember, a lot of warders are they have really low DPS and they can't kill down a ward really quickly, especially early game. So if you're counter warding here, by the time before you even kill these wards, you'll be dead. But if you're counter warding here, you can actually throw the ward here, and you could actually even attack this furthest ward with 600 range heroes. So you gotta really snitch close to the ward though. So really, yeah. So when you're counter warding this spot as a sentinel, you should definitely use this tree as a hiding spot, if you will. So that's pretty much it for the river wards. Again, these wards really provide you mid-game advantage in terms, or not mid-game, early game advantage, especially giving your mid solo in terms of rune control. But really, a lot of it, especially against tri-lane, offensive tri-lanes, you want to have lane wards, and your team will be placing 2 lane wards. The first one will be placed in a very safe spot. The second one you will be placed in a somewhat dangerous spot. Again, this is the observe ward. Actually, this observe ward does not see that much. As the creeps are killed, it will only see about this much, as I'm highlighting with the box here. It won't see any vision down here, and it definitely won't see the tower. Now, this ward is only good if you want to place it very, very safely, and you want to use the fog to abuse the tree fogs here to place it. The vision, granted, won't be as great, but again, the safety of a warder is very, very important to keep in mind as well. Now, the next in-lane ward, you just probably want to throw it in the middle of the lane. And it'll definitely give you a lot of vision, as you can see, even see behind the tower, which is very important if you want to see if the enemy team is supporting in. And it will give you a lot of backstab room and space and sight and everything. So just 2 variation of the same ward that does almost the same thing. You want to place this ward if you have a very offensive tri-lane, and if you like a Witch Doctor, Kunga, and Venge on the bot sentinel lane, and you want to go backstab a lot. These wards will be very, very helpful. And this, I mean, again, these two variation you already know. This one's a lot safer, but in the trade-off you won't see as much. This one you have to physically go out in the lane, and the enemy team might see you actually place it, so they have a better chance of counter-warding it as well. So you got to keep those tiny things in mind. And finally, in the Sentinel jungle, we will be talking about jungling. So in terms of, let's say, your opponent picked the Chen, picked the Enchantress, and you have a sinking feeling that the offensive jungling your jungle and you want to ward things down. So here is 2 warding spots that will block all 3 camps in the Sentinel jungle, which is very, very important. The first warding spot is, you see this tiny little bush here. This is called the magic bush. If you put a sentry ward or an observer ward here, it will block this camp here. It will block this camp here as well. So one single ward will block both camps. You want to try to maximize. However, sometimes you don't want to block this camp, because if you want to pull and whatnot. So sometimes a better ward, if you just want to block this top camp by itself, a single ward here is not bad. And this ward is, it gives you a lot of vision as well if you're placing observe ward. It'll give you a lot of horizontal vision and a lot of vertical vision if you fear a Chen backstabbing. And secondly, another river ward here that you can place to block this camp as well is right here. And this if this is placed as an observer ward, it will definitely see the rune spot, and it'll definitely see this vertical spot that I'm pinging like crazy on the minimap. It'll definitely see this spot as well. So generally, you don't need to place these wards all too much, because there's not much jungling in a lot of pro games and whatnot. But if you ever find yourself needing to place these wards, these are not bad wards to place. So again, these wards, this one blocks this camp only. This is the magical bush. It's definitely not a bad ward to push in terms of mid game. You see with this observer ward, definitely seeing the haste rune here, and a lot of sight here as well. And now we're gonna head up to the other warding position of the Sentinel side. Notice that I'm not telling you to, just only ward in these positions, but I'm saying that, you could actually use a combination. Let's say maybe I want to ward one down here and then one up in this area. So it's really up to you of exactly where you want to ward. I'm just giving you all the possibility and all the explanation of these particular wards. So first, we're going to be warding this area over here. So notice how you can actually put one up here, and it will grant you the vision all the way down here, and it will see some vision on this side of the ramp and in the middle lane as well. This ward, I think it's predominantly more of a mid-game ward, as they grant you vision up to the mid lane as well. And it's probably better on Scourge side, but Sentinel heroes could put that as well. I personally don't like that ward as much, but whatever. It's pretty much the same thing. A variation of this ward is probably better. This observer ward lets you see further on this side, maybe even up close to like this area, which this ward does not provide. And you can actually place it here up the ramp as well. So again, be safe when you're placing the wards. Try to stay as on high ground as possible. And these 2 wards, of course, definitely see the rune spot as well. Now, a variation, if you want to be a little bit more adventurous and going on the other side of the ramp, you can actually place wards on the right side of the torch, on the left side of the torch as well. These 2, again, grant you a lot of vision on the mid lane. Can you kill those creeps here, Nate, real fast? Yeah, if you see this ward, actually grants you a lot of vision on the Scourge side of the hill, which is probably important if you have a hero like a Tinker or Nevermore, where you want uphill sight for your spells and whatnot. These wards will actually see the river rune as well. I probably don't need to stress that, but you gotta keep in mind. You have to keep in mind when you're actually placing these wards, they will see you place those wards, and you're in the mercy of the enemy hero to say, hey, if I have 200 gold, should I upgrade the crow, or should I just counter ward a ward? Because they definitely know. When they see you place those wards, they know where your wards are. So you gotta keep that in mind as you're placing these wards. Yes, these wards are very good in seeing the middle vision, but you gotta keep in mind they could counter ward you very, very easily. Now this other ward up here on this tree here, which is, I mean, you've seen it 1,000 times. Notice how your noob is actually placing it behind the tree and not in front of the trees. If you're actually placing it in front of the tree, it would not grant you any of these vision behind here, right here, up the hill. Yeah, this vision is very important if the enemy team is trying to venture up a gank right here. A lot of smart Scourge heroes, I see them, because they know there's river vision from the Sentinel side. So Scourge will actually take the long path and go up here. But this ward, grants you safety as well. And this ward, not that good. A lot of times, if this area is being counter warded very, very heavily, you could also place it up here. But it's kind of a suboptimal ward. It grants you a lot of area in this site, but it's a lot of time it's a lot of useless sight. Like this site, this area is not that important to see as a sentinel, so it's not that good. But it's a choice there as well. And notice that you can actually again place it in a very safe spot. But generally in this area, you're predominantly fogged for most of the time. But notice that you can actually place it here as well. So tiny spots that could keep you safe. Now again, as a sentinel hero, you probably want to block Scourge creep camp, the pool camp up here, which is very important. There's a lot of placement. Here is a placement that I generally don't see a lot in pro games. You can actually place that one here very safely.